Now, when I first became a conspiracy theorist, I didn't plan on it. I seen this.
I said, how could a plane, even a 767 or 747 or whatever it might have been, how could it possibly go through this deal? I happen to think that they had not only a plane, but they had bombs that exploded almost simultaneously, because I just can't imagine anything being able to go through that wall. Most buildings are built with the steel is on the inside around the elevator shaft. This one was built from the outside, which is the strongest structure you can have, and it was almost just like a can of soup.
You know, Donald, we were looking at pictures all morning long of that plane coming into building number 2, and when you see that approach the far side, and then all of a sudden, within a matter of a millisecond, the explosion pops out the other side.
Right. I just think that it was a plane with more than just fuel. I think, obviously, they were very big planes. They were going very rapidly, because I was also watching where the plane seemed to be not only going fast, it seemed to be coming down into the building.
We made it at least 2 blocks, and we started running floor by floor instead of popping out.
It was if they had detonated.
Detonated.
Take down a building. Boom, 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 boom.
All the way down. I was watching it and...
These are experts. These are people that have seen that type of stuff many times before.
Explosion at Tower 1K. I've got 5 patients. They need to be treated in Warren Street because of the secondary explosion. We've got numerous people covered with dust from the secondary explosion.
The fireman tapes also directly refute the official explanation that the inferno was raging inside the towers. In the following clips, firemen report no smoke or fire problems.
I'm still in Boyd Stairway, 74th floor. No smoke or fire problem. The walls are breached, so be careful.
Several of the World Trade Center collapse videos show explosions occurring immediately prior to and during the collapse of the Twin Towers. This seems to be a direct evidence of controlled demolition. So if you look down below there, you'll see the little explosions pop out right before the buildings actually collapse. Right there, it pops out, and then the building begins to come down. That means that simultaneously, a bunch of different explosions popped out just like that around the building at certain points to cause it to come straight down. The Professor Stephen Jones previously mentioned red-hot molten metal was found in the wreckage of all 3 buildings 6 weeks after the 9/11 attack.
This is how it's been since day one. Oh, it's unbelievable. And this is 6 weeks later, almost 6 weeks later. And as we get closer to the center of this, it gets hotter and hotter. It's probably 1,500 degrees. We've had some small windows into what we thought was a core at some point, and it looked like an oven. You know, it was just roaring inside. And it's just a bright reddish orange color. See that stuff he's pulling out? What was that? We're gonna hold off on the water. See the stuff he's pulling out?
Yeah.
It's red hot. If we hit it too much steam, you won't be able to see what he's doing.
Great.
In 2004, a Christian theology professor named David Ray Griffin published a book called The New Pearl Harbor, disturbing questions about the Bush administration in 9/11.
Never before in history has a steel-framed high-rise building collapsed simply because of fire. On 9/11, by coincidence, 3 such buildings collapsed within 10 to 16 seconds. Almost free fall speed. In other words, if you had dropped a brick from the top of the World Trade Center, it would have taken about that time to hit the ground. If fire could even conceivably bring down steel-framed buildings, but bring them down very slowly, the steel would bend and fall this way and that way. It'd be a very slow process. The pictures that we see are consistent with what is called controlled demolition. When a company fills a building with explosives, times the explosives in just the right way to bring the building straight down into its own footprint. And that's what we see with all 3 buildings.
Implosion of the building. If you've seen many of the managed demolitions where they implode a building and they cause it essentially to fall vertically because they cause all of the vertical columns to fail simultaneously. That's exactly what it looked like, and that's what happened.
It was live on television. I mean, just literally millions of people.
Shortly after 9/11, a subtracted private company began removing the wreckage from there and subsequently melted it down and shipped it overseas. The name of that company is Controlled Demolitions, Inc. You can visit them online. Controlled Demolitions, Inc. is a leading demolition company in the world. They specialize in demolishing skyscrapers into easy to remove pieces.
You have 210-story office buildings. You don't find a desk. You don't find a chair. You don't find a telephone, a computer. The biggest piece of a telephone I found was half of the keypad, and it was about this big. The building collapsed to dust.
To dust. If it's just a fire, you should see some charred desks, maybe some phones, like some melted computers, stuff like that, right? But they didn't find any of that. They found it like this. It was just pure rubble. Pure rubble. Something that they can just sweep up, gather up, and move out the way. Let me know what y'all think. Was it an inside job? Or is it what they told us it was?